Hi, this is Dr. Georgia. I hope you find today's message a blessing in your life. We want to make sure that we continue to provide these video messages for you when you can't come to church, or for those of you who live in a different state, or we noticed recently we have a lot of people in even different countries who are tuning in. So if that is you and you can donate to us, we invite you to hit that donate button just below the message here. So thanks so much. Let us prepare ourselves. If you put your hand over your eyes, I open my eyes to see the spiritual truth today. And now over your ears, I open my ears to hear the spiritual truth today. Now just cover your heart, open up your arms. I open up my heart to receive the spiritual truth today. The spiritual truth I'm coming to today is from the great Lao Tzu, the author of the I Ching and the father of the Taoist movement. And what he wrote was that we are either emerging, flourishing, or dissolving. Now, he didn't mean our physical bodies. He meant the aspects of our life are in cycle. The aspects of our life, maybe our relationship, our financial life, our career life, our family life, whatever, is always emerging, flourishing, or dissolving. Now, here's the thing. We actually like when it's emerging, although it makes us a little nervous, because when life is emerging, we're often making mistakes because we're learning how to do something new. And so it kind of makes us a little nervous, that emerging part. Because we don't really love making mistakes, you and I. The flourishing part, we love the flourishing part, and we think it should stay there all the time. It should just be there. Makes us happy. But it doesn't. You know, it can't just stay there. We get mad when it doesn't stay there. We forget that we're in a cycle of life. So, you know, somebody leaves us, and we said, well, wait a minute, you said you were going to be with me for the rest of my life, till death do us part. And they said, well, I meant that. When I said it, I meant it, yeah. But it's not happening anymore. So we're in the dissolving part. And we really hate the dissolving part because it scares us. It not only infuriates us, but it also frightens us. The dissolving part actually should make us very, very excited. Maybe not happy. Because when things dissolve, it's not always a happy time. But it should excite us, because what it means is something is ready to emerge on the other side, because we live in the law of circulation. We live in a cyclical life, always emerging, flourishing, or dissolving in our life. Well, I'm working with a little series right now to help us become more comfortable with this whole notion of Lao Tzu's. The series is called The Art of Possibility: Transforming Professional and Personal Life. It's a fabulous little book that is organized in 10 spiritual practices. Now, a lot of times we think of spiritual practices as meditation and prayer, but spiritual practice is so much more than that. And if we can get these spiritual practices, these 12 spiritual practices, and begin to embody them, we can begin to transform ourselves and actually the people around us. We've done the first 6. The first one is everything is invented in our life, and that should be good news for us, because what's invented, if it's not working, if it's dissolving, can be reinvented. The second one is to notice that we are always stepping into the land of possibility, that there is possibility everywhere we go, and to begin to notice that. The third one is give everybody an A. And I may have misspoke last time I said this. Here, the whole thing about giving everybody an A is we give everybody an A when we start out meeting them. When we meet them, everybody gets an A. Fresh A for everybody. Then it may deteriorate into a B, a C, a D, or so on. But in the beginning, everybody gets an A. The fourth one was be a contribution, or as Mary Manning Morrissey would say, be a person of increase. Look around to see where we can add value to the world. And it may be something simple, like comforting a mother of a toddler who's having a fit. Or it could be just giving a smile to somebody who's walking down the street and they're unhappy. It could be a very simple thing that we can make ourselves a contribution as spiritual practice. And the next one was leading from behind. In other words, helping to empower those people that we're leading. And the last one is rule number 6. And if you were here last week, you remember that rule number 6 is simply take yourself less seriously, lighten up. And so now we're going to jump right in, and those are all on our YouTube channel if you want to get deeper. I guess last week's isn't, but the first week is on the YouTube channel if you want to go back and review them. Today we're going to jump right into number 7, the way things, being present with simply the way things are, noticing and being present with the way things are. The authors suggest in this book that if you are willing to be present with what's going on in your life, it's actually the antidote to feeling resignation and resistance. And you know, there's nothing more demoralizing than feeling resignation. You know, you've all felt that way where you just, you know, you've worked with something so long, maybe your finances, you just think, I'm never going to get this, I'm never going to get ahead. These kinds of spiritual practices can help with that level of resignation. It's not helpful when we're not present, and when we are, even with our feelings about it, because being with what's present may not make us happy. We need to be with our feelings about that. We need to notice what our feelings are and be present with them as well. When we're present with our feelings, and when we're present with what's going on in the world, then new possibilities begin to emerge in our life. Now please be aware that being present with what is not the same as accepting or condoning what is. See, I think we need to be present with the understanding that white supremacy exists. We don't need to accept it, but we don't need to resist it. We need simply to be present with it and see what ideas emerge for us to deal with it. If your child is having trouble with drugs, you need to be present with that child's situation, not in denial and not resistant to it, but simply to be present with it so that we can begin to see what possibilities might bubble up in our lives. See, there are hundreds of conditions of our lives every day that are crying out for us to be present with them and not resistant to them in our lives. And when we acknowledge them, then all new sorts of ideas can pop up. We can ask the question, now what else? I'm present with this. What else might be I could be present with around this situation? They use an example of a guy going to Florida, a family, a husband and wife. They book a trip to Florida. He didn't really want to go to Florida. He wanted to go to Tucson. He's a golfer, and she loved the beach, and so she said, no, let's go to Florida. We've been to Florida before. It's always worked out great. Let's go to Florida. So he says, okay, let's go to Florida. They book a trip to Florida. They get off the plane, and it starts raining, and it rains every single day. And he's getting madder. Every 24 hours, he's getting madder about the rain. And he's, you know, he gets out the brochure, and he looks at it, and he sees the hotel has sunshine on the picture, and they lied to us. They lied to us. He's just furious. He's mad. You know, he's mad at his wife because he wanted to go to Tucson anyway, and now she's made him go to Florida. So he's just, everything makes him angry. And he's not present with it. He's present with his anger about how it should be, but not how it is. See, when we can get present with how things are in a situation like that, we can begin to look around and ask that question, well, okay, what else is there? Are there great restaurants here in Florida that I might go to? Are there great movies? Is there great conversation? Is there great sex? What might we be able to have during this trip that doesn't involve, well, I'm telling you, it's okay. What can we do that doesn't involve going outside? Maybe what we need to do is call the airline and book a trip to Tucson. But you can't do that when you're mad. You can't look at all the possibilities when your man in your life. See, the capacity to be present with what is and all that's happening without resistance in our life actually is what creates possibilities. To be present with the way things are calls us to distinguish between assumption, feelings, and facts. Distinguish between assumption, feelings, and facts. So the authors have tried to help us, because they're like us. They like practical stuff. Okay, that's a good idea. That's a good concept. I get it. Be present. How can I do that? Well, they've got some behaviors that they've suggested that we do, one of which is clear away all the shoulds in your life. See, when we put our attention, when we dislike a situation, we tend to put our attention on what we don't like, what we don't want in our life, rather than how we could make it different. See, there shouldn't be rain in Florida. My daughter should like soccer. She's having trouble making friends. I had trouble making friends. I like soccer. She should like soccer. My boss should be a better listener in my life. The police should not be so afraid of people of color. When we put our attention on that, it's hard for us to get the answers we need for new possibilities to be able to emerge in our life. Makes us less effective and able to deal with things. When we've cleared away the shoulds, then we can move on to clearing the exit gates. When we don't like something, what do we try and do? We try and flee. We try and go away. We go into an exit gate. My exit gate is food. Used to be booze. We all have exit gates. Maybe it's TV. Sometimes my exit gate is law and order. Whatever your exit gate is, we've got to close those exit gates and begin to stay with our feelings in our life. Because when we stay with our feelings, the intensity will lessen in our life and new possibilities arise. When we've got that kind of handled, we need to clear away our judgments. That's the next behavior that they suggest in focusing on, to be present with what is. And here's the thing. If I were to clock how many minutes a day I'm in judgment, it would wind up to be in hours, because it's just something we do. We are in judgment maybe you're not, I'm in judgment all the time. See? And the truth is, nature's not in judgment. The rain in Florida may have been bad for the golf game, but it was great for the citrus crops. That terrible fire that they had in Sonoma County in the Napa Valley was terrible for the residents, but it might have supported the ecosystem there. We need to stay out of judgment in our life. Not the happy sad. We know when we're happy and when we're sad. We need to pay attention to that. We need to stay out of the judgment of good and bad. What is good and what is bad. It's all good. It's happy, but it's all good. I wasn't going to tell this story because I've told it so often, and I'm going to tell it because the truth is I could tell it every single Sunday and you would benefit from it. And the reason is because I take this story, and when life isn't going my way, I try and pull this up, and I want it so close to your fresh memory that you can pull it up whenever you're not happy. It's a story about it's a Buddhist story about a farmer. And the farmer is doing okay. He's doing fine. He has a plow and he has a horse. And the horse takes the plow. And all of a sudden the horse runs away. And the neighbors come over and they say, "Oh, we saw what happened. We're very sad. That's terrible luck." And the farmer says, "Maybe." And then the horse comes back and he found a wife. And they had a baby. And now he has 3 horses for his farm. And the neighbors run over and they say, "How lucky you are." And the guy says, "Maybe." And the kid, his only son, who helps him on the farm, gets on the new horse and starts to ride it and falls off and breaks his arm. And the neighbors come over and they say, "Oh, how sad this is for you. What bad luck." And the farmer says, "Maybe." And then the army comes to conscript all healthy young men. But his son is not taken because his son has a broken arm and he can't hold a rifle. And the neighbors come running over and they say, wow, how lucky you are. And the farmer says, maybe. I could go on and on and on, but you get the point. The point is we need to stop judging because life is long. And the cycle just keeps going on and on in our life. And we do well to let go and be present with what is. The next one is to give way to passion. First we stay present with what is, and then we begin to give way to passion. Now remember, all 12 of these spiritual practices are designed to help us know and know we know that we live in a land of possibility, of infinite possibility. That's what they're there for. And the beauty of passion is we all have it. Everybody has passion. Some of it, because of the conditions of our lives, has become a flicker, and some of it has become a bold flame in our life, but all of us have passion. And we can use that passion to allow ourselves to connect with Spirit. To connect with Spirit. Because, you know, one of the things you'll hear practitioners in this church say, ministers in this church say, is that God is in and around and through us, all around us. And when we say God is all around us, what we mean is there's a vibrant energy all around us. And when we are in our passion, it connects with the universal passion that's available to all of us. It's a vibrancy. I don't want to get too woo-woo here, but the truth is there is an energy all around that we connect with through our passion in our life. You know, depression is one of the most debilitating diseases we have in this country. And what psychologists are now telling us is that depression is the opposite of expression. That when we stifle our expression, that's when depression begins to happen. When we are not in touch with our passion, when we block it, when we try and put it away, when we try and close it down, that's when we become more depressed in our lives. The authors give us two ideas to increase our awareness of our passion. One is to notice where you're holding back. Notice where you're holding back. And I've practiced with that this week, and it's something I need to keep working with, and I want you to keep working at. Notice where you're holding back in your life, because your passion is there, and you're afraid. And I understand that. I get afraid. We don't like taking risks. We are a risk-averse tribe. But if we can let it go, what's the worst that we're going to have? We're going to make a mistake. People aren't going to like what we're offering. Okay, move on. Find some new people in our life. The second one is to participate wholly in our life. So you allow yourself to be a conduit for the passion in your life, and other people to allow to be a conduit passion in their life. You know, Oprah Winfrey's passion has done more for people on this planet in terms of understanding how Spirit works than any minister alive, because she had passion for it, and she let her passion out, and then we were able to receive it. Nelson Mandela. You don't have to be a famous person or rich person. Nelson Mandela was a convict. Came out of prison. Changed an entire country. How? Through releasing his passion. Just releasing it. See, he didn't go out and get anybody. He just had passion and people came to him, and that's what happened in our life. Jesus had passion for a new way of thinking. And he got 12 people to come and help him. And together, they had passion in their life. Every leader of every family and of every country has passion in their life. And that leads us to the last one I want to talk about today, which is in lighting the spark. It kind of jumps off this. Once we're aligned in our passion, now it's our job to spark somebody else and allow them to be sparked in their life. And like I say, Jesus had a passion. He enrolled 12 guys to work with him. But we can all do that. We have a passion. We need people to help us to do it, All of the guys in our band play in other bands. They find a type of music they want to play, and they go find guys and women, people. Let's just say musicians. They find musicians to help them so that they can be, they can do their passion in life. We can do that too. They call it enrollment in the book. That's what they call it, enrollment in the book. Now, I'm hesitant to use that word enrollment because, enrollment has that kind of feeling that we're trying to get people to do what we want, that we're going to cajole them, that we're going to try and talk them into it. We're going to kind of manipulate them into doing things. And those of you who've kind of been bit by multi-level marketing, that's a term they use often in, I'm going to enroll you in this program. And I'm not an anti-multi-level marketing. I actually think it's a fine way of doing business. But I know a lot of people who've gotten involved in it have been hurt by it because of the word enrollment. So I'm going to ask you to think about it in a different way. It's really a way of sparking somebody else's excitement. In the Middle Ages, there was people would take an ember and they would put it in a little metal box, and they would carry the metal box around with them all the time because starting a fire from scratch was difficult. If you've ever tried that, you went out in the forest for whatever reason you did, and you didn't have any matches, and you tried to light a fire. It's hard to do. So they put this little ember in a metal box, and they took the metal box with them everywhere they went. And they would be able, when they wanted to have warmth, they would take their little ember out, and they'd start the fire with their ember, and they'd put it, a new one, back in. That's kind of what we need to do. We need to carry our passion everywhere, take it out when we want to light somebody's, enlist them, light their spark. The description of charisma is really simply somebody who is in alignment with their passion and willing to spark other people. That's what a charismatic person is. It's not somebody who's beautiful or handsome. One of the most charismatic people on the planet was Martin Luther King Jr. He wasn't much to look at, actually. The same thing with Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi was a little skinny Indian guy. He wasn't much to look at. But he was in alignment with his passion, so aligned with his passion that people came to him. And they wanted to be with him. They wanted to feel his spark. Sometimes we can light a spark with just a simple gesture. Colin Kaepernick sparked a whole conversation. And wherever you stand on this issue of the NFL and knees, I don't want to know, but he sparked an entire group of people at least talking about police violence, what it means, why people are doing this. He sparked passion in our lives. And people can do it in a quieter note. Jane Goodall sparked passion in the lives of young anthropologists simply by her passion of chimpanzees. When I was going to the church just like this, I was sitting in chairs just like you were sitting in, and Reverend Edward Villiers was the pastor of my church in Santa Rosa, and he came out and he baptized a 4-year-old boy. And I could feel his passion for the welcoming to this child into new thought and into the community, the spiritual community. And in that moment, I knew I had another job. I knew I needed to quit my job and go to seminary. The next day I signed up because I caught his passion. He lighted a spark inside of me by just doing what he did for his passion, and we can all do that. This church, sometimes unity churches, New Thought churches, Science of Mind churches, they're called, people see us as me churches. They think that all we do is sit around and manifest parking lots and parking spaces and and partners. That's what we think. We come to church to need a partner, go over to that church, they'll help you find a partner. And we do that. We actually do that. But we do so much more than that. We are not, every time we express our passion, we are absolutely the calling new people into spiritual community. So let's take this message into prayer. I believe in God and only in God, that one source that gives all. That gives all abundance, gives all love, gives all compassion. So I simply stand ready to receive. I allow it to come through me and bless others as well. I give thanks for that. I release this word in the law, and together we say, and so it is.